Okay, perfect. We're good. Um, so obviously this part, whatever, won't be included.
Oh, sure.
Um, and yeah, so like when we begin, I have my like welcome to Sweet Nothings, whatever shtick. Uh, um, but yeah, so just before we start, I just like to preface the whole thing by obviously this is like all in fun. It's not actually supposed to insult you or make you feel like a piece of
Oh,
shit or whatever, right?
no,
Um,
I mentioned the Between Two Perns interview series. That one
yes.
is also just, it's tongue in cheek. The interviewer, his name's Jackson Dickert, and pretty much all he does is make fun of your stuff. And so it's definitely not a surprise or anything like that. So you're good.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of go like all over the place. It's just like, generic. Oh, nobody knows who you are. What's the deal with your whatever books for whatever. Sometimes I make fun of titles. I don't think I do that with you though, actually, no. But then I also just like Facebook creeped you. So like, I have like some places where you live jokes or like whatever. Anyways, I do like some sci-fi stuff, questions with you, like whatever. But it's just like generic ridiculousness, some
Oh
like
yeah,
slights here and there. It's honestly like at the end I say this as well because at the end, if there's anything that you don't want included, just let me know, and then I'll just mark that to like be edited out or whatever. But like, there really shouldn't be anything. But like, feel free to just be like, I don't like that, I don't want that in there, whatever, right? And then I feel like I warn people that, and then they're all worried. But at the end, I've asked everyone, and I'll ask you as well. Like, was that as bad as you thought? Whatever. And everyone's always like, oh my God, that was like nothing. It's like not as bad at all. So like. Hopefully it's like good. It's because like the idea is to also like be highlighting you, right? So like it is to like put you in the spotlight. Like people
oh
are gonna
sure.
watch the show, see, oh, who is this guy? Oh, they've mentioned these books or whatever, right? So like the idea is, just to be like highlighting the author while also, yeah, like you said, like tongue in cheek and just like general ridiculousness. Um, so yeah, if yeah, like if at all you want, like you can literally say anything. You can respond in any way you want. The way I write it, ideally, no matter what you say, my whole thing still works. If you stump me up for any reason, I'm just gonna like move on, right? Like just keep going. Uh, but yeah, so if you are good,
Yep, let me
we can go.
close down my Facebook just so it's not dinging in the background.
Yeah, I've had a couple interviews that have had random sounds in it, so it's all good if it does happen. I did close mine too for the same reason.
All right, good to go.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, it's not super long. Like at the end of it, it's like it like might be 10 minutes. It
Oh,
depends
okay.
on like how long our answers are and stuff, but it's like it's for sure not like super long at all. The idea was supposed to be like 5-minute videos is what I was thinking. Um, but we all tend to be long-winded and we talk a lot, right? So, and then
That's
sometimes
how
you
we
just
make
think of
books.
like, right, and sometimes you just go off script and we're just talking about some other stuff and like that's all good too, right? This is a free Zoom account though, so we have 40 minutes, I think, in total.
Perfect.
It should not run that like long at all. And yeah, like I said, I do have like a script to like keep us kind of like on track. But anyways, okay. So if you're good, we'll do the and action. Okay, ready? I'm gonna close my door. Okay, here we go. And I also have to get like my deadpan. Try to keep my deadpan face going. All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sweet Nothings. I am your host, Allie Jane Sweet. My guest today is none other than the super talented John Cohn. No, wait. Oh, it's the lesser known Andrew Najberg, Nyberg, Neighberg. How do you say it?
Well, decades of mispronunciation have led me to accepting any pronunciation that people come up with at this point. So all of those are corrected.
Perfect. So it's Andrew Neighberg that we have here. I mean, it would be helpful if you had picked a name that people could say.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole thing of like using made up words as book names as well, or in fantasy where they come up with the most ridiculous vocabulary for the book. It's good to make things deliberately impossible for people.
So you did it on purpose.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all a matter of correctly choosing to whom you were born, and at that point, if your main criteria is unsayable last name, this was a decent one to pick.
Right. It's like, what do they call it? Like creative, whatever, allowance, creative something. You are part of the Boo Crew? Is that what you guys call yourselves?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's me,
So,
Andrew Way, John Cohn, and now Ben Farthing.
right, yeah. So what's the deal there?
So, at one point in one of the many, many group chats involved with being a writer, I guess they just seem to proliferate. And then you start one group chat, and then four more spring out of it. It's kind of like rabbits, but with social media notifications. But out of one of the many of them, I don't even remember who suggested it, but somebody had brought up Baldur's Gate, and somebody else at that point was like, "Hey, we should do a multiplayer game of Baldur's Gate." And then I was like, hey, I'll get in on that. And so every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, the four of us get together and we play Baldur's Gate, talk writing, make a lot of random and weird jokes. And yeah, it lasts about 2 hours each night. We answer viewer questions. And yeah, it's just a good bit of fun as we slaughter everything in our path, sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally.
Yeah, I've actually watched it. And like I was surprisingly entertained. I was like looking at the group of you thinking, what were these guys thinking? Like the thought was like, we're not very good at writing, so maybe we could try gaming. And then, you realize that you were even worse at that, and so then you decide to stream it
Mm-hmm.
because people would want to watch that. But credit where
Well,
it's due.
I mean, you realize that when you can't succeed by succeeding, that if you make your goal to fail, then suddenly success becomes much more attainable because it turns out that we are better at failing than we are at succeeding.
Right, the bar is set low, and then there is a chance. I had a similar thought process creating this segment. Um, I honestly can't figure out who is riding whose coattails in that group of people either. I tried to make a comment about that, but that is the comment that I came up with.
um, we'll just blame Andrew Van Way for everything.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I'm down with that. So as I was doing my research on you, the main consensus in the indie horror community is that you are highly intelligent. Everybody was gushing about your intelligence. Andrew Najberg is so smart. How does his big brain fit in that tiny little head of his? But I know someone, at least one person who is smarter than you. Um, Jen Osborne. You know Jen? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, I mean, I based that solely on the fact that when I asked her if she would be a guest on my show, she said no.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. Um, I've read your short story collection In Those Fading Stars. Excuse me. For a lesser known indie author, I would have to say it was actually pretty good. Um, yeah, I honestly can't think of a jab. Uh, it was one of my favorite reads last year, so
Well,
yeah.
I figure if you flounder about blindly for long enough, you're going to throw out something that sticks, you know?
Yes, it's the same as like, stand-up comedy or comedy in general, right? You just consistently make jokes and statistically, some will land.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, do you want to hear my review?
Sure.
Let me, I did mean to have this up and ready, but it's not like your time is worth anything. So give me a second here. Andrew Naj. Is it Nyberg though? Is it supposed to
It
be
is
Nyberg?
Nyberg, yes. And my wife has said that on her tombstone, she is going to have Amber, and then in quotation marks, it's pronounced, and then Nyberg. I don't know if she intends to disambiguate that or not, but at the same
That's
time, I'm fine either way with that idea. I think it's pretty hilarious.
yeah, I was gonna say
I
that's
think not enough people use jokes as their epitaphs. I think death would be a lot funnier if everybody took it less seriously.
correct. I think that is an absolutely amazing idea. And just to have it say pronounced and then no extra pronunciation tips. Okay. Oh, I must have read an arc of this because I am saying happy release day to Andrew and this explosive collection of short fiction. Each story reads like a full novel and is packed with a punch. In Those Fading Stars is heavy on the sci-fi horror and gave me constant feelings of existential dread. That is like one of my favorite horror subgenres, if we can call it that. I love the way Andrew can grip the reader with the first paragraph, intro to the main character, or even the first sentence. Since reading Golatalk, again with
Go,
the names that are
go.
Gulatalk, Gulatalk. Since reading Gullah Talk, I look forward to everything this author puts out. I recently bought The Nevermore Thief, and that is up next for my Najberg reads. I highly recommend this collection, along with all of his work. Easy 4.5 stars from me. Right. So I did buy the ebook of The Nevermore Thief. I have not read it yet.
That's fair.
You've made me a liar. Thank you for that.
Well, interestingly, there may be reason to hold off on that, though. It just depends on what kind of reading experience you want, because the press, Olive Ridley, that put out Neverborn, ended up deciding to shutter and cease supporting its titles. And Manta Press, the parent press, did end up being taken over by new ownership, but after I had already reached an agreement for a re-release of a second edition of Neverborn Thief.
Okay.
And this one has been, it is an updated edition, so it's not the same as the original text. And the main difference is that Neverborn's first release was a middle grade title. And it's right on the cusp of middle grade and YA, but it's the youth of the protagonist steers us to MG territory. And the upcoming re-release, which I'll be making a formal announcement about real soon, is going to be a YA title. So it's been rewritten in order to suit an older readership.
Okay, yeah. I would read in both categories probably. So what I'm hearing though is that you put out a book that I have spent money on and now you're telling me don't bother reading it? Is that
Well, I mean, I generally discourage people from reading my stuff anyways, since it's mostly garbage, and it's largely just lack of sleep producing it. So
yeah.
and the
I
occasional
mean,
trauma dump.
yes, which is probably what brings the readers back.
It's very possible for sure.
Yeah. We're all suckers for like self-sabotage, you know? I did read The Mobius Door, though, which was also pretty freaking good, man. Yeah, I found it hard to jab at your work. I love your work. Gage, edit that
I
part
appreciate it.
out. I can't be caught being nice to my guests. Uh, so I'm gathering you're a sci-fi guy too.
Absolutely. I actually like in a lot of ways I would call myself slightly more sci-fi than horror, at least in terms of the stories I like to think of. I do prefer, and the reason why is real simple. I prefer horror to be grounded. And at the same time, I also like outlandish horror. Those, and the only way to reconcile those things is to work with science and the more bizarre, exotic things of the universe to try to bring at least a reasonable plausibility to your narrative.
I like that. I'm similarly built, actually. I totally follow that train of thought. Um, so what aspect of sci-fi do you think is closest to becoming reality?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, given the current state of politics and everything, nuclear Armageddon is definitely way up there. But no, I mean, I've always been much more interested in robotics and things like that for sci-fi, artificial intelligence. I mean, we have some absolute morons experimenting with the implantation of chips directly into people's heads, regardless of the consequences and what it's going to do to people and the suffering that would happen from the test subjects. And so already we're kind of arriving at that union of sci-fi and horror in real life. So pretty soon, nonfiction will look just like my books, I think.
That is dark. I was gonna say flying cars.
That's the dream, isn't it? I mean, that's the future we were promised and we have not been led to.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I don't actually expect it to happen soon. I think I just really want it to. Like the Jetsons really did me
Absolutely.
dirty.
Or heck,
Yeah.
personal jetpacks. Where are those? Why can't we just go to like Walmart and pick up a new jetpack for Christmas, you know?
Right, like jet fueled hoverboards, we have those segways. Like why are they on the ground? Why are they on wheels? Like we've invented the
Absolutely.
wheel. We're beyond the wheel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like why aren't more people like us in positions of power to make these decisions with, unending amounts of money or whatever it is? Instead, we're out here hawking. Well, personally, I'm hawking books that aren't even my own, and my stories are just in them. Other people did the actual work. So I'm like, here, buy this book that I have a thing in, and I get no more money from that. Your birthday is May 3rd.
It's true.
This makes you a Taurus. I'm a Capricorn.
Ah,
We are both Earth sign pals. Maybe
absolutely.
that's why we have similar, the groundedness of things and wanting, logic and realism and stability, even in our fiction. Um, so okay. So I know they say that astrology is a pseudoscience at most, but I believe it is fact. So now you know that about me. Um, so people's birth charts. Have you ever done a birth chart?
I'm
Okay,
afraid
so
not.
you put your like your name, your birthplace, your birth date, time of birth is, for the specifics, and then you find out exactly where everything was, the planets, the sun, the moon, where it all was at the exact moment of your birth. And then this plays to your personality and like who you are as a person. So I've done them a lot. I've done my own, I've done tons for friends in the community. And every time we read them, it's like it's insulting because it's calling out all your complexities, your flaws, your character, you know, flaws. I just said that. But basically, that's the part that I'm hung up on because it's like, how does it know this about me? Right? If it's not real. So, like, based on my personal experience, I believe that astrology is truth. You don't really know much about it, I've just garnered, but I was going to ask you, what do you think about that?
Well, so I, from what I do know, my stance has always been that the reason why there seems to be accuracy to astronomy is I think that I think your personality traits are more determined by the climate that was happening around you when you were born, as well as during your very early months. So, for example, if you're born in winter, people's behavior patterns, exposure to the sun, how likely you are to go and get fresh air, all of those kinds of things play into early personality and temperament formation. And so I think as a result, there's such a strong correlation between that and astrology and when you're born that it's actually it becomes sort of a way of expressing overlapping ideas.
Okay. I can see that theory. Uh, I'd have to really like do some research about that specifically because like I was born January 14th in Canada in Nova Scotia. It's freezing, it's cold, there's snow everywhere, right? My mom took me out every day in the stroller everywhere we went. I still act like other Capricorns.
That's fair. I'd have to think about how that works out. But curiously, I was born in Canada too, just in May.
Where in Canada were you born?
Point Claire, I think it is. It's right outside Montreal.
Yeah, in Quebec.
Yep.
So not Canada, actually.
No, I mean it's like semi-Canada. Like if Canada held a knife to Canada, and started yelling at them, I think it'd be kind of like Quebec.
That is genius. Quebec is literally the dude in the knife. A dude in the knife. Dude with the knife in the alley. That is who Quebec is to Canada. That is well said. I feel like I had a point here. Right. So as a Taurus, you are loyal, would you say?
Yeah.
Patient,
Hmm.
obviously being on the show. You're reliable, you're grounded and steadfast,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
all.
like,
That's all pretty accurate.
right. And that's just your sun sign. I don't know your moon sign. I don't know where the other planets were in position when you were born. But I feel like that describes you pretty well, right? So that also means that you don't like unpredictability.
Um, that depends. I can. I mean, like, it just depends on what I'm doing at the time.
It depends on how
Um,
much control you have over it.
no, I mean, sometimes random shit can be really great. I mean, really, like, it's more like if I'm working, I really like things to kind of be going as I'm planning them. So if I'm grading papers or I'm prepping for a class and stuff like that, I really like things to take the expected path simply because it's a question of sort of stress and time management. Things that make the task drag out get really frustrating. Same with when I'm working on a novel or something like that. So, I'd rather my writing time be pretty uninterrupted. I do kind of sit in the same places to do that work. But then, in contrast, when I'm in the classroom, for example, I love unpredictability. I absolutely love when my classroom plans get derailed and we just forge out into completely new and unexpected territory. When I'm out with the kids, I really like for unexpected stuff to happen because that's half the fun. So yeah, it's really contextual for me. But I mean, I do spend a good chunk of my time working, and so that is a lot of things do get arranged around that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And to speak to my earlier point about depending on how much control you have, like you are confident in your classroom, you have control in your classroom. So the unpredictability within your classroom is still technically
That's fair.
relatively predictable. On the list is also chaos and being rushed, which really makes me wonder why you agreed to this interview. Moving on, you graduated from Spalding University.
Yep.
And what year was that?
2010.
That question wasn't to age you. Did you know in 2006 they changed their nickname or mascot or whatever you want to call it from the Pelicans to the Golden Eagles?
No, in fact, I was only superficially aware they even had any sort of mascot or sports. I only did my MFA there, and so I didn't participate in any of the normal campus life. In fact, actually, all of my residencies were abroad, so I actually have only been to Spalding campus aside from my first residency for special events and occasions.
That's so crazy. I totally pegged you as like quarterback.
Well, I used to actually be really good at sports. I played baseball all the way up until college, and I had even weighed playing, trying to play during college. And I had actually just lost my taste for sports at the time, largely because honestly, I moved a lot in high school, and so it felt really hard to be connected to teams and sports anymore. But no, I played a ton of baseball. I played soccer for, gosh, from 4 to 16. So 12 years. I was on swim teams. I ran track. I played basketball. I played tennis. And yeah, I mean now I do. The only sport I do is martial arts. But yeah, I've always enjoyed a lot of athletics.
That's sweet. Yeah. I also was very athletic. I did all of those things you said except baseball and basketball.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I started smoking.
See, I smoked for a while and I continued doing those things. It was
I
interesting.
I did continue for a little while. I continued for about 3 or 4 years.
But yeah, when I was in
And
my
then
my
go ahead.
when I was in my mid 20s, I started running like 5Ks and 10Ks and things like that. And one of my favorite things to do was to light up a cigarette while in the race. People would visibly stumble around you because they did not expect it. I think that's actually banned in races now, strangely enough, but
I feel like
it
it
was
should be that.
really
I don't think
fun.
that's strange at all. I see I'm like the laziest smoker ever, which is actually kind of sweet because it has helped me like keep myself from like I don't smoke that much. Like I am like an occasional smoker, I would say. But yeah, like after like a hard like, you know, workout or after, you know, a practice, a soccer practice or whatever, my favorite thing to do was to like sit down and just like suck some ash. Did not see this interview going in that direction. I actually don't like put it on blast that I'm a smoker. Like I don't post pictures of myself smoking on socials. I don't know. It's like it is kind of a regret. Like I love smoking. Like I love smoking a cigarette. I obviously don't like any of the, you know, side effects that it has on myself and others. So I just don't like, and I worked with kids for like ever and I'm big on role modeling and it's just like, you know, so it's not
That's
something that
fair.
I like gloat about or whatever. Oh yes. So I basically just wanted to call you a pelican. That's where I was going with this. Like, I don't see you as a golden eagle. Uh, I don't know how Gage is going to keep that one in here, but I've decided Gage is editing all my videos because I tried and I am terrible at it. I am a terrible video editor. I started an editing company and hopefully I'm not as bad at editing words as I am at footage. So. Um, So, okay, well, that's a good segue because I want to talk about the mutant birds in Gulatalk. So those things
Absolutely.
are they're all kinds of fucked up. Where did you get this idea?
I'm a total pantser. I really do very little planning up front. I don't outline at all. And even stories with narrative twists. Like I have a forthcoming novel that's actually very twist heavy. But even that, I had only a couple of sort of skeletal ideas that I had to kind of keep in the back of my mind when I wrote everything, and then I had to peel them away one by one. So in Galatag, though, there's a very pragmatic element to those birds, which is, I was trying. Gali Otak, the island that Galatag is based on, is a real place, and it's known as the Naked Island because it's virtually devoid of vegetation, and so that was something I wanted to work with. And if it's devoid of vegetation, it's also going to be largely devoid of a lot of local life. And so, at that point, it's like, okay, so where are the threats on this island going to be coming from? And of course, I've got the jellyfish in the opening, but unfortunately, once you're on land, the jellyfish just aren't as big a threat anymore. And so I had to think about, okay, so how can we sort of take this natural threat to the next level in a way that's going to be sort of ecologically realistic? And so, I mean, birds became the obvious choice for animals that would have no problem being able to cross over to a remote island. And then, given the nature of the problem of the island, having them become giant mutant birds seemed a really fun option. And then, I love body horror, and so once I'd already decided on the birds, it then became an obvious avenue to really work into making them something much more grotesque and aberrational.
Yeah, I did say I read it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't like body horror typically. Like there's some scenes and certain things that don't bother me as much. I obviously read like I have triggers. I know my triggers. I read anything anyways. If I really have to skim, I will. But I like to challenge myself to figure out like my triggers and like why I am, you know, offended or I don't even think offended is the word, but like affected, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't really get offended. But affected by, you know, body horror or whatever. But like I think about those birds all the time because like, oh, we're running out of time. Um, I think about them all the time. They traumatize me. The birds traumatize me. But like I'm still team jellyfish, though, I
That's
will say,
fair.
you
That's
know.
fair.
Yeah, we have jellyfish at my cottage on the Northumberland Strait, and it's like
Mhm.
making me a little bit nervous. Like I'm not scared of seagulls. I already thought they were kind of, you know, whatever. But the idea of how you worked seagull-esque birds the way you did, I'm not okay with. Uh, but yeah, I am a little nervous to like go sailing this summer, you know. I will say that. So you live in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That's true.
So I have an uncle from Knoxville.
Oh, nice. I used to live there.
Okay, yeah. So every time anyone goes to the bathroom, he always says, flush twice. It's a long way to Chattanooga.
Hmm.
I've never asked him what it meant. I thought it was a made up thing. I didn't understand as a child, that Chattanooga was even a real place. And I just thought, the like it was like, I don't know, talking to the fact that like, where does the toilet water go? Because also as a child, I had no fucking idea. Right. So I'm like, oh,
Tennessee River.
all our toilet water goes to Chattanooga. Like, so anyways, I just thought it was funny because like when I read that that's where you were from, I was like, hilarious. That's where all my toilet water has been going.
Well, I wonder if that's related to the fact that we used to be the most polluted city in the nation. So that could be it. It could be that if it's more recent, our sewer system is grotesquely under code. And so if
Mm.
you are downtown, anytime near a rainstorm, it smells like some massive deity took a huge shit on the city.
Ugh.
Um, because it's constantly overflowing into the Tennessee River. And so that could be
Yeah.
it.
I feel like yeah, I feel like it is something to do with that. But when I learned that's where you were from, and I was like, oh, it's just where shit hangs out. Uh, so tell us about the time you fought off a dozen raccoons in a yurt.
So yeah, that was just Andrew Van Waybait. I have only been in a yurt once, and that was actually weirdly enough at Bonnaroo back in 2006. The people immediately behind my campsite built a massive yurt in the parking lot. Um, and like we watched them putting up like a PVC frame and then covering it with like that silver insulated foam stuff that you put like on windshields to
Yeah,
reflect the
yeah,
sun.
yeah.
They had an air conditioning unit in there. They knew how to camp. And I mean the thing was like about I don't know about the size of maybe three side by side cars and then one car sideways with it. It was sizable. And they
Wow.
they would have like 12 people completely stoned out of their minds in there the whole time. I don't think they went to any of the shows. I think they just pretty much pitched tent and then just got stoned in their yurt. Which I mean, once you build a yurt that size, you might as well.
I mean, that's lit. That's one of those unpredictable things where it's just like, yeah, I'll be in the yurt.
Exactly, exactly. And
Right.
the upshot was it made it real easy to find our car and our tent because we just had to look for the yurt.
Nice. Well, that's all the time we have today. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Just so that it isn't a complete waste of your time, why don't you tell your readers a book they should check out?
So I'm definitely trying to draw people to In Those Fading Stars. It came out in October, and I'm bringing a whole bunch of copies to AuthorCon in Williamsburg, Virginia, the 28th through the 30th, which I'm incredibly excited about to be sharing a table with my semi-twin, John Cohn. And it's looking like it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I already told people that that book was good. I thought you might suggest something, by someone worth reading, maybe slash tag. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our viewers for tuning into another episode of Sweet Nothings. And thanks again, Andrew.
Well, thank you so much.
I hope everyone has a great night, except Gage. I hope that he finds a time machine, except the only time he can travel back to is the instant right before his most embarrassing moment in high school.
I mean, that's an important invention we need to work on.
For that specific reason.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, this is a gauge centric project for sure.
I will definitely work on that with you. We should do like a startup. What are those startup things that
GoFundMe, Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, yeah, people can pay us.